Testing. Welcome everyone to this evening's Agenda Briefing Forum. This evening is not a decision-making forum, it is the briefing on the agenda for the Ordinary Council meeting, which will be held next Tuesday, 26 August 2025. I'd like to remind everyone in the chambers to ensure that comments are respectful to the Council and all meeting attendees, including city officers and those in our public gallery. Please note that this meeting is being live-streamed. I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land in which we are meeting, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and pay our respect to elders past, present, and emerging. There are no announcements tonight. Attendance. Mayor Pifaretti and Councillor Sutherland are apologies for this evening, and all other councillors are present in the chamber. Councillors, are there any disclosures of interest tonight? Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yes, on item 10.1.5, this is the consent to advertise the draft Local Planning Scheme 25. Hawaiians Nuanda is mentioned and my residence is correctly opposite. Therefore, I'll be leaving the room on this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Leder.
Yes, on 10.1.5, consent to advertise draft local planning scheme, I have a proximity interest due to a property that my business leases in the town centre being included in zoning changes, so I will leave the room for that.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. Likewise, on 10.1.5, I have a proximity interest and I'll have to leave the room for that item.
Thank you. Councillor Ostasowski.
Thank you. I have 4 declarations for tonight. The first one is for 8.4.1, the Delegates Report for ALGA 2025. City of Karratha is mentioned in that report, and one of my family members works for the City of Karratha. It's an impartial interest. I'll be staying in the room. For 10.4.2, Community Services Fee Waiver Report, the North of Perth Music Festival is mentioned in that report. I have been a volunteer for that organisation, presented awards for that organisation, and have attended social functions organised by the festival committee. It's an impartial interest, and I'll be staying in the room. In regards to 10.3.6, the Pathway Master Plan, my house falls within the feasibility study area for Benara Road, which is shown in the report. This is an impartial interest and I'll be staying in the room. And then for item 10.5.3.7, the quarterly performance report, the corporate one, the underground targeted power program is mentioned in that report. I have information from the department that I have an interest in common on this general topic. My declaration on this may need to change in the future depending on the nature of the report. At the moment, it's an impartial interest and I'll be staying in the room.
Thank you. Any other disclosures? Councillor Epsom.
Yes, just one, the same one, 10.1.5. That's the consent to advertise draft local planning scheme. It's a proximity interest. I own a property in an area that is proposed for rezoning, so I'll be leaving the room for that one. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, councillors? Thank you. So we will continue to the deputations part of the meeting. This evening, we have 7 in-person deputations. I will explain how the deputation process will work. Each person who is presenting a deputation will be invited to come forward to speak at the microphone for up to 5 minutes. As we get close to 5 minutes, I will let you know so that you can conclude your deputation. Once you have finished, the councillors may have some questions for you. We will start with item 10.3.1, Bedford Bowling Club Outback Pedal, and I will call Mr. Forsman to come forward. If you can please state your name and suburb, and you have 5 minutes.
Sure, thank you. Let's push the, it's working. Jamie Forsman, 145 Grand Promenade in Bedford. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, officers and members of the community, and thank you for this opportunity to address you tonight. My name is Jamie Forsman from Outback Paddle. We're excited about the opportunity to bring our passion for paddle to the City of Bayswater in partnership with the Bedford Bowling Club. Paddle is best described as tennis meets squash. It is played on an enclosed court with tennis scoring. It's easy to learn, suitable for all ages, abilities, and is inclusive. One of the unique aspects of paddle is that people often find themselves hooked after just one game. Globally, paddle is the fastest growing sport with more than 30 million players and played in over 130 countries with more than 50,000 courts. Western Australia is still in the early stages with just 8 courts, but the appetite is already here, and Bayswater has the opportunity to be at the forefront of this movement. This project also aligns directly with the city's recent released strategic plan and will contribute to growing a connected, innovative and sustainable city, and will contribute to Bayswater's reputation as a livable city. I would like to address 2 of the 4 corrections we submitted to the city regarding the minutes. Being mindful of time, I will cover these briefly and happy to provide further detail if the council requires. The first correction relates to the sublease period. Certainty over the sublease period is critical to the project's viability, given the scale of investment. The current lease expiring on 15th of December 2029 does not provide the certainty required to support investment. We would therefore request the bowling club's lease to be extended until December 2034, 5 years beyond the current expiry, which is in line with the Community Facilities Lease License User Agreement policy. This arrangement would provide the certainty necessary to support the investment. In addition, Outback Paddle will enter into MOU with the Bedford Bowling Club, confirming that when the club's lease is extended, Outback Paddle will have the option to renew its sublease. Correction 2 relates to the number of courts. Since our initial proposal, we have undertaken further technical work, including a power assessment, geotechnical land surveys, 3D renders, and a detailed engineering design in preparation for the development application. This updated work confirmed that the available space can accommodate 4 courts rather than 3. Accordingly, we have updated the proposal to include a 4th court to ensure better use of the space and the facilities. We have developed a strong relationship with the Bedford Bowling Club, and I want to personally thank the committee, especially Neil and John. Unfortunately, Jim's not here tonight. It's genuinely inspirational to see how much time and energy they give in making the club the success that it is, and they have a profound impact on the local community. Our vision is to bring a diverse mix of people to the venue, new energy and foot traffic that helps the club thrive and grow activity at the bar and restaurant, supporting long-term sustainability. Importantly, all operational and financial risks will sit with us as Outback Paddle, not the city or the club. Equally important is ensuring access and inclusion. We'll partner with the club and the city to work with schools and the community groups so that the courts are open, welcoming and affordable. Paddle will feature in the Brisbane 2032 Olympics, and we'd love to see a future Olympian come from the city of Bayswater. Next steps, so subject to the council's support, our request is for clarification on approvals, including indicative timeframes, specifically for approval of the management order of the land use change, approval for the sublease, and any other further approvals needed before construction can commence. Clarity on these steps will enable the city, the club, and ourselves to plan effectively and deliver the project smoothly. In closing, this project is a win-win for the community, city, and the club, as well as Outback Paddle. Lease certainty remains critical to making the investment viable. We look forward to working together with the city and the club and community to make this vision a reality. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. If you can just stay for a second, I will check if councillors have any questions. Councillor Ibsen.
Yes, thank you for your deputation. You mentioned that the proposal that we've seen in front of us isn't current, so there was 4 courts rather than the 3 that are shown. You mentioned also that there was this power, you've done power, geotech, etc. Has there been a traffic impact statement or any sort of traffic modelling done on the 4 courts rather than the 3?
Sure, no, thanks for the question. So I think I got confirmation this afternoon. I think the proposal now was put forward is the latest proposal. So it should have 4 courts there. We have done a traffic impact statement, and that has been approved to say that the number of parking and everything there is okay to facilitate 4 courts.
Thank you. I've got a couple, that's all, just some financial stuff. So it's quite a new area for the city of Bayswater, and what's proposed sees the city taking a proportion of the income from it. That's intended for reinvestment back. So in this example, have you got any experience elsewhere with what other local governments do?
Sure. So there's 3 facilities in Western Australia, paddle facilities. The commercial agreements that I've seen for those, the city does not take any fees, but all the money that is given to the club, there's an agreement that that money is used to reinvest in the club. So, for example, Floret have all the investment goes back into lighting on the tennis courts as well as upkeep of the tennis courts. That's what their rental goes towards.
Cool. Just probably one more, I think. Yeah, so just in regards to the rent increase, because there was a rent increase from what we could see. So is that conditioned by anything, a standard increase? Maybe just want to try and understand that a
Sure.
little
Is
bit.
that the year 2 increase?
Yes. Please.
So that is conditional on utilisation. So we've said from year 2, if we get to a 75% utilisation, we'll then increase the rent to the club and therefore obviously pass on the additional benefit that we're getting to the club as well.
Yeah, okay. That was, probably just one last one. Is there any other locations that you'd consider around in the city, or are you looking elsewhere across Perth?
Yes, we are looking in the city as well, at the Morley Naranda Recreational Club. There's another location we're looking at as well, and to do both as well.
That's it, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions, councillors? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll continue to item 10.3.5, Riverside Foreshore Concept Master Plans. We have several deputations. We will start with Miss G. You can please come forward and state your name and suburb.
Good evening. I'm Jeanette G. I live at 3D Neville Street, Bayswater, which is right on Riverside Gardens. We're the closest house there. I'm here with my husband, who obviously also lives at 3D Neville Street, Bayswater, and it's our deputation. I've actually got 2 deputations that I put in. The first one is really short, so I'll just say that first. I really congratulate you on the master plan and the idea of fixing up the erosion of the foreshore. It's terrible. At the moment, I'm down there every day, at least once a day, and all the rubbish from the tip that was there is all coming out. So it definitely needs fixing. I am worried that parts of it will be fenced off. For example, if you know where the jetty is with the gazebo out the end, and you've got the big sandy dog park. On the other side, a lot of people use that as well with their dogs, and if you have mobility issues, you cannot get down into the sandy area. So I would just ask you to consider that when you are considering the whole plan, that people with mobility issues still should have a right to use the foreshore with their dogs or without their dogs, just to wheel their wheelchairs or walkers down there. That's the first thing. Okay, the second thing I'd like to talk about is the sudden appearance of a car park on the plans that butts up to 1 metre within our house. It's a bit of a problem for us. There's those 2 blocks that are on Leake Street that come right down to the end where Bellevue Corner is, have been an absolute eyesore for a very long time. We've lived there for about 20 years. And in summer, there's no reticulations, so all the vegetation goes. With the easterly winds, the sand blows directly into our house, and not into our yard, into our house. So, we actually don't like what's there now. We're not against having something done to the 2 blocks. We would love to see it vegetated. We'd love to see some bushland there. We'd love to see some trees, all sorts of stuff. We'd also welcome probably some extra car parking there, but certainly the 2 blocks being car park, we cannot see the point. The other thing is I put in a written submission, and I hope that you've had a time to read that and have a look at it. It talks about taking away the existing car park that's only just been built. It's less than 3 years old, I believe. It's a great car park. It stopped my husband having to get up in the middle of the night and pull people out with his 4-wheel drive that have got bogged in the blocks. That's what was happening there before. You'd have 30, 40 cars parked on those blocks. People would ignore the fact it was all boggy, and they would, So we're very happy about the car park that's there. The submission says something like that car park will have to go because it's not at the same level as the car park you want to build. But the first block that's sitting there right outside our house is at the same level to that car park. So what a waste of money that is, where you can just open up the car park and have it drive through into a new bit of car park. Just seems like a no-brainer to us. The second thing is the mitigation of the heat, the light, the security, all of that stuff has got to be talked over with residents, we believe. The plan has had no consultation with anybody in the area. It's just turned up. We need some mitigation, some space between our house and whatever else happens, and we'd love some vegetation there, some trees, some bushes, some native plants, all of that sort of stuff, if the car park goes ahead. The third major problem, and I think this is a problem that you're going to hear from other people as well, is we are really, really worried about having the roundabout on the corner of Leek and Milne and Bellevue. Opening that up to traffic is just a disaster. People that park right now in the car park and along Leek Street and Milne Street, little kids get out of cars, they run straight to the park or to the playground. Dogs get out before they can be grabbed and put on leads, they run as well. It's a very family and dog-friendly area, and now turning it into an actual road that they have to cross will be a really, really big problem. Your strategic plan actually says that you want to have connected, accessible and safe roads, pathways and places. And I think this totally goes against the plan that your council has put in place. The plan also goes against the impacts of the changing environment by putting bitumen on two full blocks where we could have perhaps some really good greening. That would be wonderful. Sustainable natural green spaces is what we would like to see. Engaging with the community is also part of your plan, and nobody's asked anybody what they would like. We love living there. We've never complained when there's been events on, even when they've impacted quite a lot on our house with people parking right up against our wall and backing into it. We understand. We bought a block there and built a house on a public place, and we are happy to share it with the rest of the world, but we do not want cars going through an area that's going to put kids, dogs and people at risk. I hope that all makes sense. I'd love to see the other part of your strategic plan
Sorry, Ms. G,
considered.
you do need to finish. If you
Yep.
can just conclude.
This is my last
Thank
thing,
you.
which is increase the tree canopy to shade pathways and cool our suburbs. And that would be an ideal spot to start that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will check with councillors if anyone has any questions. Councillor Palmer.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your deputation. It was very, very concise, and thank you. Everything was so clear. And thank you also for your generosity in the way you presented being the neighbour there. That was lovely. The only thing I'm concerned about is the roundabout, because that's near the Ellis House, isn't it? You know, where you take that shot.
No. Alice House is on Milne Street.
Yeah.
Then you turn left along
right.
the river,
Yeah.
and the roundabout's on the corner. Leek Street comes down
Okay,
here in
gotcha.
Bellevue. So it's actually on the bit where they let the cars out when you know, if you go to an event.
Go to All House
yeah,
that way.
it's right there. Yeah,
Thank you very much. Thank you. That's all I need.
that's all right. No
Sorry, I got
problem.
the wrong.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Leder.
Can I just clarify that the additional parking you're talking about is at the end of Leek Street, so prior to getting to that proposed roundabout?
Well, the roundabout sort of butts onto it,
Yeah.
and then you've got
What's
the-
currently a vacant block?
it's currently vacant.
Yeah.
And the exit to it would be onto Leek Street, part way down a hill where there's no visibility. It's just a disaster, really.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, if I might. Hi, Jeanette. Can I ask you to clarify a bit on what you said in the first part about accessibility to the beach?
Yeah.
I don't quite understand like how it's different. Yeah, you just explain a bit more because I don't
Okay,
understand how it'd
so
be
we got the
different.
jetty thing
Yep, I know
with
the
the
place well.
gazebo.
Yep.
On that side, we've got the big sandy beach.
Yep.
It's a hill down to the beach.
It is.
You're in a walker, you're on a stick, you're not getting down
So
there.
that's how it currently is, yeah.
Right, and that's fine. That's going to stay, and that's part of the concept plan. But On the other side, a lot of people with mobility issues, because it's almost flat to the water, can walk up really close to the water on the other side of that jetty. If they've got dogs, they can throw the ball for them, they can let them run, they can be near them, whereas they can't get close to them if they're in the sand.
Do you mean right next to the jetty, or do you mean further down near the drain, what they call Red Beach?
Well, that's another area that
Yeah.
would be lovely to be open as well, but that's not actually very accessible for people with mobility issues because it turns into a total bog
soggy,
and a sand. You know what it's like if you've been down there. But this area doesn't. This area is grassed, it's shaded. It's also the only shaded part of the river that you can get close to if you just want to sit by the river and you have mobility issues.
Thank you. Yeah, I was trying to get my head
Yeah.
around where. Thank you for explaining.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, councillors? I have a question, two questions,
Oh, yes,
please, Ms.
okay.
G. You mentioned, first of all, the fence issue. So I understand that was in the previous draft. I'm assuming it's the same fence. Have you noticed that in the current agenda, it says that the fence will be removed?
Well, that was around the dog park, but look, you've got to know that those plans are very, very small. It's very hard to read where things are on them, even online. It's so hard. So if they are going to try and keep people off the actual river part, maybe they're going to put boundaries in. I don't know, but I just want to make sure people with mobility issues still have access to the river in that little spot.
Okay, but I will just note that you're noticing on page 298, it says the fence has now been removed from the plan.
Yeah, but I thought that meant the fence around the dog park, not the fence around
okay.
the bit to keep people
Okay.
out of the river.
I will clarify it for you
So
later.
I don't know.
Okay.
I couldn't see the picture very well.
Okay, thank you. Now, did I understand you correctly? Did you mention that you felt like there was no consultation with you guys? Is this what I hear?
Yes, you are hearing that.
So you have not received anything?
Nothing.
Okay,
We sent in a petition last year. I believe I put that in my updated submission that I updated last night. We got a thank you for your petition. Nothing else. No one's come to talk to us. Nobody has said, how's this car park going to look? Can we do anything? How can we work together to make it a wonderful place for everybody? That's all we want. We want to work with the council to make it a good space.
okay. Can I... Website, Engage Base Water, where we put all our projects for consultation. Are you aware of that?
Well, which is why we put the petition in last year, and that was our answer to the proposal for the car park. But nothing else has come back from that. And
Okay.
none of the stuff that was in the petition has been noted or changed because of it.
I understand.
Yeah.
So just to understand, so you're talking about that you did not feel any feedback following the petition?
Yeah, but you would think that if it's 1 metre from your actual house, that somebody would come and talk to you. In the documents, it says there's been, significant consultation. We did go down and talk about the foreshore and the dog park and everything. We have engaged with that. But the car park has sort of come up as a surprise.
I understand.
Yeah.
Okay. But you were involved in the stages before of the consultation that the city undertook?
Yes, but we did not see the car park there.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. Thank you very much.
Thank
Ms.
you.
G.
Thank you for the chance to talk.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll continue to the next one, same item. Mr. Hoffman, if you can please come forward and state your name and suburb.
Yeah, my name's Jared Hoffman, also live in Bayswater. Similarly raised concerns to the item that the previous speaker had just discussed. I think in similar fashion to how she shared, if we were given the opportunity to engage meaningfully, we could come up with a solution more effectively at an earlier stage, but it's been a concern that the presence of the car park in its current state is going to have a significant impact to us being residents in a very, very close fashion. The concerns that we flagged around road safety and pedestrian interactions the entrance from Leek Street in a location where we've all witnessed many near misses, we feel is quite a risk. Adding the road through, or the roundabout road through, means there's the potential for more interactions between vehicles and pedestrians, which is also a big concern, and also the additional risk of hoons passing through there as an easy way in and out rather than it being closed off. Being right adjacent to that car park, the proposed car park area, where is the concern around our privacy, the implications of that it may have on us, given that there would be direct line of sight into our home, have 3 small children, and really don't want there to be people using that car park having direct line of sight into our residence. We see it would have a potential impact on our residential amenity. Early morning or late evening noise issues are a concern, relating then to the potential antisocial behavioural risks along with that. The existing car park, which was denoted in number 14 in that same plan, was only constructed a few years ago. The proposed demolition only a few years later, for me, is a really concern and shows a lack of foresight during that construction phase and really an inefficient use of council funds to do so. That existing car park, number 14, is, from our perspective, quite well used, but rarely at full capacity. We know that one of the major demands for that additional car parking is the rowing club. We see it as being impractical that people would use that car park for the rowing club, given it's 500 metres away, and an alternate position would be preferable. Looking at the broader plan, I think there's many parts of that that are aligned with the Bayswater Environmental and Livability Framework, but really, in summary, I would say living directly adjacent to a car park surrounded by houses on 3 sides wouldn't be aligned with that framework. Thanks.
Thank you very much. If you could just wait for a second, I will check if councillors have any questions. And I think we do. Councillor Johnson, please.
Thank you. Thank you for mentioning the Environmental Livability Framework. It's my favourite strategy. With regards to the car park, do you have any suggestions where it should go, if not there?
I mean, if the demand is for the rowing club, and that's where the peak volume is coming from, then a potential option I would see would be near the Scout Centre. There's available land from my perspective on either side, which could give close proximity both for that area as well as the rowing club itself.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, councillors? Thank you very much. We will continue to Madi. Yes, please. If you can please, Mr. Madi, if you can come forward. And if you can state your name and suburb. And you have 5 minutes, please.
Hi, Babel, my name, and in Bayswater. Hi, everyone. So yeah, about the car park, same thing. Safety is going to be an issue, and especially for the dogs and the kids. So I do have a suggestion, just like my neighbor there said, in terms of where the car parks could be. So I have been looking here at the maps. So near the rowing club, there's Garrett Road Bridge Park, just behind the rowing club. It's quite a bit of land there. I know there's going to be some trees taken off, but maybe you can grow them somewhere else. There's a lot of land. And then there's one opposite to that, which is also off Mill Street. There's quite a bit of land there. Because at the moment, the car park is facing basically three directions of housing. At least over these 2 sides, there's only one side of housing. So it's going to be closer to the row club and less impact on the housing that's around there. Now, a suggestion to what we can do in the car park, or the proposed car park, which is off Leek Street, maybe someone can do something in terms of like exercise. If you go to Europe, almost every park in Europe has, it's called like calisthenics, bars, and just body workout where people can do some exercise, because there's nothing. At the moment, it's just basic deteriorating machines, or not machines, like some, I don't know what they are, like just very basic. Maybe we can do something like that, get everyone healthy. Another thing is, how about we grow some lemons and oranges and give everyone free lemons? Yeah, my neighbor at the moment, Guy, he gives me a lot of lemons. I put them outside my street, which is on Leek Street. Everyone takes them. That's a good idea. Give back to the people. Cool. I think that's it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mahdi. Councillors, any questions? Councillor Leder.
Just on your last point, are you aware that the city has a pocket park policy where you can, in
Pocket what?
fact, apply to create a little community garden or put fruit trees into parks near you?
Really? I didn't know that. Where can I get that ticket? What do you say? Ticket to park it?
It's perhaps we can get somebody to send you information. Does governance have?
Yes, a good idea, Councillor Leder. Maybe the officers can write it down and they can provide you later. I think they have the contact details.
Yes.
They can provide you a copy
Great.
of that policy. Thank you, Councillor Leder. Any other questions, councillors? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, for the final deputation on this item, Mr. Lanza. Yeah, please come forward. Lanza. Sorry. If you can please come forward and if you can state your name and suburb.
Guy Gaetano, Lanza Cariccio, Bayswater. I'm the owner-occupier of 3C Neville Street. I'm in between the first deputation tonight, Janet, and the second previous one to me, Jared. My property will be the front door, like I think Janet's is a couple of metres. I think Jared's would be pretty much similar to mine. Front door to the proposed start of the car park or the land that is in question, which is the higher bit of land, would be around 7 metres. Our front doors to the start of the land there, if anyone's got that on there. I can just see this gentleman here looking at it, I think. So I have big concerns about things that have already been brought up several times. That's why mine's going to be short. Obviously, antisocial behaviour, privacy concerns, heat from the tarmac, from the car park, and never ending, seems to be getting warmer and warmer every year. I think last year we had 16 days over around 40 degrees. So, we're getting more and more records every year of heat. So that's a big concern with our house so close to a car park. I think it's actually ludicrous to have a car park bordering potentially by 3 sides of properties. I've been driving around. I drive around a lot from work. I don't see anything like that. Like the other neighbours have mentioned, I am also a little bit sick of all the sand and seeing this paddock all the time. So I'm happy to see something happen, but a car park like that, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how many of you get down there at night and have a look. But there's cars all the time down there at all the other zones. They sleep down there. There's never... Some people keep themselves, some don't. So that's a big concern. Also, as Jared mentioned, I think that car park that's going to get removed, that was only built 3 years ago, approximately 3 years ago. I think that's a little bit crazy also. I'm not sure what what's that cost, but to remove that. And also I agree that, on weekends it might be full, on certain days, on good days, but we're looking at a massive expansion here. Is it really needed to have that there? It doesn't note how many actually car parks are going to be there. So that's one thing. Will there be cameras? The level of the block, what's happening with that? If it was to stay at the same height, light will pretty much come straight through my living room windows. So there's some points. So I would like to see something happen to the block. As I said, it's a great area, this and that. But a car park on our doorsteps, and it is 7 metres from my front door. A few people have mentioned the petition that we signed. I had 18 people sign it. I actually went around with another neighbour and pretty much got no response to that petition. The actual hard copies here, if anyone wants to see that. So yeah, there are a lot of my concerns with the traffic management. I think that's a big concern also. That doesn't fully affect my property because I'm on the other side. However, I think that's also needs to be really re-examined with a hill coming down. Someone just needs to hoon over the hill, come around that bend into the roundabout. I think that's just disaster waiting to happen. I think that's about it for me. As I said, a lot of my points have already been brought up several times tonight, so there's no point bringing them up again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councillors, any questions, please? Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. Sorry, I had two. I can't remember what the other one was. So I've heard a few times actually people talk about, you know, your neighbours talking about the use of that block as a car park, and I don't know the status of it. What if it was to be sold off and used for housing? I'm just curious about, you know, your thoughts on
Well, at the
having
end of the
that in the
day, you
adjacent
just got to
area.
build within the regulations, and there's not much you can do, is there?
Yeah, I mean, I know, just thinking about, you know, yeah, what other uses there would be for that bit of land. It's a
Well,
awkward
as I
little
said,
spot
I
there.
mean, you know, if you look at all your, a lot of feedback and talk and the council's recommendations and moving forward, it's all about greening the suburbs. So, as I said, I think there's certain things that have been done, maybe some exercise equipment that was brought up, putting more trees there. There's other areas where you're doing a lot of landscaping, your forest management, whatever, all these things that are happening at the moment. That'd be great.
Thank you. I have a follow-up question on this one. So I didn't understand, I'm sorry. So would you prefer to have residential houses there instead of a car park?
Oh, I'm not saying I prefer. I mean, look, at the end of the day,
Something for the community. Sorry.
yeah. I mean, it all depends when you say housing. I mean, how many houses are going to fit on there? Are they going to be 2 stories, single stories? Are they going to be, you know?
Okay.
So, you know, that's a bit of a hard question to answer. I mean, ideally, yes, I'd like something for the community because this pocket of Bayswater is a community area. It is. If people come down there, they picnic, you know, they walk, they take their dogs, they ride their bikes. It's a very well-known area. Everyone loves this area. It's well-known around Perth. And tell me if I'm wrong, I think it's a bit of a diamond in the Bayswater council's chambers or, you know, whatever you talk about. So everyone knows about it around Perth. It's one of the best known dog parks and areas to go down to and enjoy a nice sunny day. So, I mean, yeah, I think just expand that little area into something that people could use more and beautify it more. Because, as I said, we all agree it's a bit of an eyesore at the moment, but to have a car park there is going to be, I think it's impractical. I think it's also, there's a lot of issues with that. At the bottom of Bellevue Street, there was some big cameras and put in. I mean, obviously there is ongoing issues down there. And to do this right next to residential, bordering 3 sides, I mean, it's not going to improve anything. Things are going to get worse. So to answer your question, I think, yes, to have some sort of public space would be great.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor. Can I just ask the petition that you very kindly offered to leave a copy with us? Is that the same petition that went round or that has been already given to the city, or is it another one?
No, this is the one that I took around in December. I think it was November, December. I've actually just got the hard copy, the proper copy here. So,
I uploaded it with my submission. So
yeah, I understand that. I'm just saying I've got the original copy here. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. So you haven't had a response either?
No, and as far as I know, none of these other people have either. Nothing in writing, nothing, no emails, nothing apart in regards to this. In regards to this. And when I actually inquired about this, when I went down to the, when you had your meetings or whatever down at the park there, the public, what was that called, sorry? John Vines and all the councillors down there having this and that. I actually spoke to, I can't remember the other councillor's name, and I said, we want to do a petition. I was actually told, don't worry about it. For whatever reason, I'm not sure. In a nice way, I was told not to do it, but I said, no, it's something we want to do. So, you know, as a ratepayer of multiple properties in Bayswater, I'm a little disappointed that we never got any response on this. So,
Thank you for letting us know. Thank you.
problems.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Palmer, if you could just hit your mic. Thank you. We will move to item 10.5.1.7, Planning Policy Review, Tree Retention and Provision of Trees. The first one is Ms. Kerr. If you can please come forward and state your name and suburb.
Thank you, Georgina Kerr, Bedford. In relation to this item, I do support the officer's recommendation on this item, which is an interesting position to come to as an advocate for increasing tree canopy across the city of Bayswater. And you'll see one of my fellow very strong tree canopy advocates take an opposite position or a different position. My personal position is that I support the Walga model policy, which I believe would be much more effective at actually reducing the loss of mature tree canopy on private land. However, I also recognise that as councillors and as a local government, it's important that you listen to local residents, and I can understand why the process has led to this particular policy. One thing is clear though, City of Bayswater residents do care about trees. We can see an example currently where residents are very vocal in their disappointment that Development WA has approved the removal of a century-old pine tree on private property on Drake Street, a tree that has previously been recognised by this council as having heritage significance. This policy would not save that tree, as the decision was made by Development WA as part of a development approval. It may not actually save many trees in its current form, but I believe what it can represent is a turning point in attitudes towards trees on private land, that although they are on private land, they have wider public value and should be considered for retaining if they don't actually prevent development. And obviously there are other reasons, such as posing a danger to residents and all that sort of thing. But more trees benefit everyone, including the nesting native birds that we see. The birds of prey are currently nesting in that Drake Street pine tree. I'll also address the location of respondents to the city's consultation on this policy. As you would know, by far the majority seem to live in West and South wards, mostly Bayswater and Maylands. It would be easy to think, therefore, that those in North and Central wards are not in favour of this policy. But remember, negative responses were also possible. They could have made a submission against the policy. I suggest the reason that we saw this geographic divide is that residents in West and South ward, around those train stations, around those town centres, they're the canaries in the coal mine. We've already seen what happens when trees aren't retained through subdivision and higher density, whereas those in some other suburbs still retain their larger blocks. They haven't seen the outcome of this as much as those in Bayswater and Maylands. Therefore, this can be a cautionary tale for the wider city. I also note that West Ward, residents of which have shown many times that they want more trees retained, currently only have one representative at the voting table. I do urge all councillors to be aware of this when deciding how you will vote on this item. Give West Ward a voice. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any questions? Thank you very much, Ms. Kerr. And we will continue to Ms. Garston. If you can please state your name and suburb.
Good evening, Wendy Garstone, Maylands. Deputy Mayor, I'm wondering if this evening we could take my deputation as read, if that
Yes,
would be
if
okay?
you do not, yes, definitely. So do we have a copy? Yes, and this copy is online, so that is fine.
Great, thank you.
Yes. Do you want me to ask if there are any questions, councillors? Any questions? No. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, we have received 3 written deputations tonight in relation to item 10.3.1, Bedford Bowling Club Outback Pedal, and 2 deputations about that one, and 1 deputation about item 10.3.5, Riverside Foreshore Concept Master Plans, and all those deputations are available online. And I think you guys have a copy. So we'll continue now to the questions on agenda reports part of the meeting. Councillors, we will now ask questions first on items that were...
One of those deputations I actually lodged, and it was a verbal deputation.
Sorry, what is your name?
My name is Neil Dwyer. I'm the president of the Bedford Bowling Club.
Yes, would you like to speak on this?
The reason there's a bit of confusion might become obvious during my comments, but I just wanted to rise to say that I support the recommendation.
Yes.
and
sorry,
also
so how
strongly
about-
support
sorry,
the work
Miss-
that.
Sorry, how about we'll do it properly? I'm happy for you to speak. Can you please state your name and suburb first?
It's Neil Dwyer. I live in Coolbinia, which is the city of Stirling, but I represent the Bedford Bowling Club. I'm president.
Thank you.
And that's Grand Promenade in Bedford.
Thank you. Feel free to speak.
Thank you. So the Bedford Bowling Club, I've been president there for 3 or 4 years. We have been looking for alternate uses for two greens that are at the rear of our premises that are no longer in constant use. We've had discussions with city administration representatives, and they've made it clear to us that the responsibility, given that the greens are part of our lease, the responsibility rested with us to find alternative uses. And that's fine, we accepted that responsibility. We began some discussions with Outback Paddle in early 2025. We had our first meeting with Jamie in February 2025, and we gave him our views based on the experiences we'd had. We're talking to previous potential proposers over the previous couple of years about what his submission should include. He submitted a petition that was submitted and forwarded on to city administration staff in March of this year, and we got some immediate feedback on it. We asked for a meeting to occur between the proposer, the club, and the city, and we were advised that at that stage it was a bit early, that there was more information that was required. We sought information about what that information was to be, and it was issues around the proposer's experience in this sort of development, about the financing, given that his proposal is that it be fully funded by himself rather than by the city, and about things like the nature of the contractors that were going to be used, their experience in this sort of field. So the advice was that the council at this stage, it was difficult for the city to be involved in it. We should continue to work on the proposal, and we gathered that information. We had regular verbal contact with the city, with the administration staff, but we requested around April a meeting, a face-to-face meeting between the three parties, the city, the club and the proposer. I would make the point that the city's attitude was, and it's to be admired, was that their responsibility was to the club as the primary lessee. We were the people who would bear the consequences if the proposal turned out to be not successful, and so they were acting in our best interest, and we appreciated that. But at that stage, it was probably, in our judgment, a good opportunity for the council to sit down, or the administration staff to sit down with us and Jamie and go through the issues. But we continue to work on it on certain aspects of the project. We encouraged Jamie to do a geological survey, for want of a better term, of the area he's going to use, to do an assessment of the electricity capabilities for the site, to do noise abatement, and all of those things we were adding to the proposal. The original, which is the only one that the council had seen, they were working with. And by June, July, we had a much advanced proposal document, which went into a lot more detail and was a lot more, I guess, impressive than the original proposal was. That's the reason why I wasn't called earlier, because I submitted that document when we realised that it was coming to council. We were advised at the middle of last week that it was going to council, and judging by the documentation that councillors had received, the council admin staff will work on the basis of the original proposal, the three courts instead of 4. And so we quickly took action to provide the councillors with the most up-to-date information, including more up-to-date copy of the proposal. So that's where the confusion has occurred, because that was submitted after I put in my deputation request. So it's understandable that it became converted to a written request. The situation is that we're happy with the proposal. It now appears that the main issues for us are the question of the lease term. Most sporting clubs are now under the requirement for a 5-year lease instead of the previous leases, which have been 5 plus 5, 5 with a 5-year option.
Sorry, I will need you to conclude because it's over the 5 minutes. If you can just summarise, thank you.
And the issue of the rent, 25% of the rent. We're a not-for-profit club, so any monies that are going to be paid as part of a sublease arrangement would be put back into the club to improve the facilities and the amenities for potential users, paddle tennis and bowling club alike. And we see the presentation or the commencement of sports like paddle tennis is a sport not available in the city of Bayswater. And we, like Jamie, believe it's a fast-growing sport, and this is a great opportunity.
Thank you very much for your deputation. And we do have the copy of the short written deputation that you provided the city with, just so you know. I will check, councillors, if you have any questions. Councillor Leder.
Could you just clarify, sorry, what lease arrangement you have? It's not 5 and 5, it's just 5. Is that what you're
I'm
saying?
sorry, I didn't quite...
For your current lease, did you say that it's just 5 years? There's no option for another 5 afterwards?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I think that's a pretty standard arrangement in leases that are being renewed now. Our previous was 5 by 5. In fact, our previous lease, which would have commenced in 2019, was a 5 by 5. But when it came time for us to negotiate about an extension, we were advised there would be a new lease. So instead of getting the 5-year addition, we were presented with a new lease, which was 5 years only, and it would be rolling 5 years in future. The investment that's required here by Outback Paddle, the courts alone, I think the cost of them is around $500,000. So that's a significant investment when we're at the part of the process we're in. If council approves this, and we sincerely hope that's the outcome, putting aside the lease, that if there's no lease extension, that sort of investment, when by the time the operation becomes viable, there'd be less than probably about 3.5 years left on the lease. It's unrealistic to expect Outback Paddle to put that investment into a short-term lease.
Thank you. You have a follow-up question.
And could you comment a little bit more? Do you oppose the idea of the city taking 25% and using that to maintain the assets at the club?
I'd start by saying that we have an excellent relationship with the city. The city have been very supportive of us. We often, through capital works arrangements, will 50-50 fund projects, upgrade projects, new carpet, painting, those sorts of things. The city have been very good. But I think I would favour more an arrangement whereby we have to come to a position where we have to reconcile a level of expenditure from within the rent that at least exceeds that is expended on reasonable expenditure. So for example, I'd use the term, we're a tea and instant coffee organisation. Whilst society has become a coffee culture, we're not. So one of the things we would need to invest, because paddle tennis players, our own members, our existing members of the bowling club, will often arrive at the club with a barista coffee. We can't provide that at the moment, and a barista machine is thousands of dollars. And we're a not-for-profit club. We watch our pennies. We don't expend on what we call luxury items. So one of the first things I would imagine we would purchase would be a barista coffee machine, putting it back into the club. Whether the council would, I don't think the council would view that as appropriate. So I think some sort of assurance from us that the money would be spent appropriately, and a discussion about what appropriately means is an alternate way to go than rather taking 25%.
Thank you. Councillor Palmer, do you still have a question? Yes.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The consideration previously was a request for the amendment or for the extension to 2034 for the sublease. So that was a surprise to me. So are you sort of happy with that? And are you happy also with the way the officer's recommendation is written?
Short answer is yes to both. I mean, if it goes to council now, where our lease is effectively amended to be even the existing lease, which ends in December 29, there's a 5-year extension option added. That would satisfy, I think, our requirements, and my understanding would satisfy Outback Paddles.
Okay, thank you. Just to say, I'm an instant coffee person.
Thank you.
Me too.
Any other questions, councillors? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we will now move to the questions and agenda reports, and we will start, councillors, with the items that were subject to deputations. So we will start with 10.3.1, Bedford Bowling Club Outback Paddle. Any questions, councillors? Yes, Councillor Johnson.
Hi. Yeah. Could I further understand the lease arrangements? Is it possible for that lease extension to be included as an amendment for this item, or can I get some background on that, please?
Yes, I will refer to you, Director, please.
Through the chair, the lease was renewed last year. It will expire in December 2029. The way the policy is written is that generally, if the tenant or the leaseholder, if they perform well during the term of their lease, when the lease expires, it's virtually an automatic process for officers to offer a new lease for a further 5 years. So although it's not written as a 5+5 or anything like that, it's actually a 5-year. But in terms of their performance, I know they've been performing quite well there. I think they're getting annual performances in the range of about 90% on average, which is an excellent rating for a tenant. And if they continue that, it will be pretty much an automatic process that we'd offer another 5-year extension, or another 5-year lease, not an extension, but a lease beyond that 2029 period.
Thank you. Can I also ask about the 25%? Is there anything written, it's not clear to me in the resolution, is there anything that would quarantine that money for the club?
Through the chair, there's nothing in there to say definitely that it's quarantined to the club, but council has the option of considering that. Obviously, if there's any requests for any improvements at the facility, when council considers that, officers will probably mention the fact that 25% of the income is coming towards the city, and that could potentially be considered by council at that time.
Thank you. Oh, no, I think the new proposal was sent out as a separate attachment today, is that correct?
Through Through the chair, that's correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions, councillors? Yes, councillor Epsom.
Yeah, just there's definitely a flavour of time frame for this one in regards to some of the processes or the steps that are in the officer's recommendation. Do we have some indicative time frames that the city might be able to provide tonight? I know it's probably some of these things are outside the control, but I'm just interested in time frames because it does sound like it's been a proposal for some time.
Yes.
Yeah, through the chair, I can't give an exact time frame. We have made the applications to the state in terms of the management order and making those changes. We are waiting for them to respond to us. We're hoping that that's going to be fairly soon because it has been now several months, I believe, that those requests were made.
Thank you.
Any other questions, councillors? No. Thank you. So we will move to item 10.3.5, Riverside Foreshore Concept Master Plans. Councillor Leder.
I have a couple. Can I get some clarification from the city about a fence at what I know as Little Beach, which I believe is on the southern side of the Bayswater Brook entrance to the river?
Through the chair, I don't have the specific details of the fence. What I can say is that in the early stages of the development of the concept, there was discussions about some fencing going in and restricting some access potentially. But through the process, that has been changed. And what I can say is that access will be maintained at the current level, if not improved in terms of accessibility in that area.
Okay, thank you. And another question.
Please.
The site of the car park on Leake Street was, I believe, on the list of assets that we were seeking expressions of interest for at the last council meeting. Can I get some clarification around what that implications of disposing of that asset would be for this plan?
Thank you. I'll go to... Yes. So how those, from what I understood, how those two processes go
Yes.
together?
So, for example, if we were to sell that piece of land versus, like, if we adopt this master plan, does it conflict with?
Yeah, or is
with
this
that?
still
Yeah.
happening, the potential disposal?
Yes.
CEO, is it you or manager?
Yeah, so firstly, before the manager may want to respond, the EOI process is only an expression of interest process, so it's not saying that we will dispose of that land. So we don't know what options will come back from the market in relation to that, and then obviously council will consider those options when they come through. And then if there are any implications with regards to this master planning, then we'll highlight that as part of that disposal process from that EOI.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Leder.
If I can just ask a bit of a follow-up, could the city explain what the relationship is between a master plan like this? Like this resolution seems to be a little bit different to what I've seen before. We're not being asked to endorse the master plan, just note the progress of it. So what status would this plan have if this resolution was adopted?
Yes, Director.
Through the chair, the plan isn't entirely finalised, so there's still some fine tuning to do in terms of preparing the final document. This is presented to council mainly because we did say we're going to present at this particular milestone a plan close to its completion. If there's any changes that council wants to make, they can make it at this stage, and then that will be incorporated into the final plan that will be presented for final endorsement by the council.
And after that December potential endorsement, what happens next? What's the next step?
Through the chair, the project, it's a high-level master plan, so you can't build anything directly from this plan. What it needs is some detailed plans drawn to understand exactly how it all works in terms of levels, the actual physical layout on the ground. Probably the first step is to actually put it through the Forward Capital Works program and have some allocations of funding towards this project. And that's up to council to decide when that funding will be made available. So just by endorsing the master plan doesn't automatically say we're going to build it straight away. It needs to go through that process of understanding how this fits in with everything else that we do at the city, and then work out a plan on how it's going to be funded into the future. Once we know the timing and the funding arrangements, that's when we start looking at when does the detailed design occur. When that detailed design occurs, it's going to be further fine-tuning of the plan to understand exactly how it's all going to work and get all the details actually locked in.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Johnson.
Sorry, could I ask a follow-up?
I'm sorry, Councillor. Yeah, okay, Councillor Johnson, please.
Thank you. May I ask a follow-up question to that? Can I ask what funds are allocated to this project currently under either our current budget or the long-term financial plan?
Yes. I will go to the director.
Through the chair, we have another report in the agenda actually relating to the Barden Park. Oh, sorry, not the Barden Park, the Tranby foreshore area. So there's a tender actually being called to do some foreshore stabilisation work there. In terms of other funds allocated to this project, there isn't, apart from the fact that we're in the process of completing the urban forest on Riverside Gardens, which connects to this area. But in terms of any other further funds, that's a discussion that needs to occur with council in the future.
Okay, Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Looking at the points of the proposed park on 15, and then when certain discussion was about parking down further along past the Orr House, where it could be replaced with parking that end towards Garrett Road, not towards Garrett Road proper, but halfway through. You've got PIFA parking twice there. Just asking if that is feasible. Is that a feasible thing? There's no sort of Swan River Trust problems or anything like that in changing that parking down there instead of up where the greenery is?
Through the chair, I mean, this plan has gone through a process with a consultant preparing it, and they've engaged with lots of different stakeholders, including the state government. So in terms of understanding what those other areas that have been suggested, I probably won't be able to answer that tonight, but I can take that on notice and see if I can get some further information.
Thank you.
Councillor Osasowski.
Thank you. My first one's around petitions and our process with petitions. Can the city explain, and my understanding is that when a petition comes to council, the city then prepares a report that comes back to council about that petition, and I don't recall seeing a report come back to council. So can the city explain that process and why a petition may not have had a report prepared for council?
We'll go to the CEO.
Through the chair, I've made a note of those, Councillor Osasowski, tonight when the deputations were being made to follow up, because what you've articulated is my understanding of petitions, and I can't recall that. So I've made a note to follow up to see where those petitions have landed as part of the engagement process, so that we can get information back to the petitioners in relation to that.
Thank you. My other question is around consultation. The deputies tonight had mentioned that there was no consultation. In reading the report before us tonight, there was consultation around the play space. And in going back to the report from the 28th of May 2024, when we awarded the tender for the master plan, it mentions in here about consultation, and it says that the DBCA, the department, will consult with local elders and the Aboriginal community, but no consultation will occur with the community. So it sounds like it just doesn't sound like consultation has occurred with people that will be directly affected by what could potentially occur, has actually occurred. So at what point do people have an opportunity to provide their feedback on this plan other than through this agenda or this next council meeting?
We'll go to the director to expand on this issue.
Through the chair, there was an extensive consultation process attached to this project. I know that there were, for each area, there were pop-up sessions. So there was an initial one and there was a secondary one once the plans were developed further. I understand the project was put on Gage Bayswater. There was a period of time that people could put submissions in, and so it has gone through a consultation process. There was an engagement plan that was put together for this. So what I can do is take it on notice, and I can provide further details of the exact dates and when everything happened.
Thank you. So the city did the consultation process. It wasn't the department that did the consultation process.
Through the chair, when we had a consultant on board to deliver these plans, and they were involved, and the city was involved, and I believe also the state was involved to some extent as well.
Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Maleka.
Could I just have a follow-up question to that? So did the consultation or engagement involve a letter drop by any chance? I'm just wondering how did the community find out about the engagement process? Because if they're not on Engage Bayswater, they may not know.
Through the chair, if I can take that on notice, I can get all the information together of what the consultation entailed.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions, Councillor Sosowski?
No, thank you.
Councillor Johnson.
Sorry, a follow-up in a similar vein. I'm just noting that the community engagement report's not attached to this agenda as far as I can see. Does the city have a copy they can provide us with, or will that be provided to the December meeting?
Yeah. I'll have to take that on notice as well.
Yeah. Okay, so the director committed to give us all the information about what has been undertaken. Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I did hear that there had been a DBCA meeting months and months ago, just one meeting I heard about. So was that meeting for all of this presentation, or was it just for part of it? Because the people that spoke to me only spoke about fencing, didn't speak about anything else. So I'm just wondering what was discussed at DBCA.
Director.
Through the chair, I don't have the specific details of that particular meeting, but I will find out, and I'll take that on notice.
Any other questions, councillors? I have a few questions about the car park. So it's on the screen. I understand this is the car park that the deputies were referring to. My first question is, was that proposal for a car park also included in the previous draft, or that is only, this is the first time that we see it?
I'll have to take that on notice. I believe that it was perhaps included in the second round of consultation, but I'll confirm that and provide further information.
Thank you. Do we know how many parking bays are proposed to be there?
We're not sure. We'll take that on notice and we'll provide that information.
Thank you. Now I can see in the photo lots of trees. I'm assuming quite a lot of trees. Obviously, it's indicative, but I'm assuming those trees are also are there as a barrier. Is this part of the intention?
The intention is to provide trees similar to like any other development in the city, where any parking goes in, we'll put in trees to basically provide some shade. I mean, landscaping can go in there and it can provide a barrier as well.
Thank you. Now, I also had one of the deputies referring to 2 blocks that are car park. I'm assuming that this is the one. Is this one block? Just want to confirm that so we're all on the same page.
That's my understanding.
So it's
yes.
one block. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So we're talking about the same one. There was also reference to the roundabout, a new roundabout. Is this the one that we see in the photo and below the car park? I can see some. Is this the roundabout?
I believe so.
So what is the purpose of the roundabout?
It's probably the main purpose for that roundabout is to give the opportunity for people to turn around and access bays. If they drive past them, they can turn around and head back. And it's also the fact that Leake Street is a safe, active street. Some motorists might prefer to go the other way and head back down Milne Street rather than up Leake Street. So it gives them the opportunity to be able to turn around and head back.
Thank you. Any other questions, councillors? Yes, so we have more. Councillor Palmer.
It's such an important issue, and I couldn't see any lighting that had been proposed. And because it is a site for our bird life, very important next to the Eric Singleton Bird Sanctuary, I'm hoping that the lighting that they do put in, and hopefully you might be able to tell me, that it's going to be bird friendly and not just solar lights to please everybody.
Yes, Director.
Through the chair, lighting will be considered as part of the detailed design. So there's obviously going to be lighting in there. That's a given. The type of lighting will be specified at detailed design stage, and it will be suitable for the environment that it's going in.
Councillor Johnson. Sorry, I will go first to Councillor Johnson. I will go to Councillor later.
I just have a question about at what point is there an assessment made about the impact on traffic on Leake Street of opening that up? Because presumably there would be some.
Through the chair, when a detailed design is prepared, there will be an assessment done in regards to traffic. That assessment will actually contribute towards providing information for that design to be prepared. So it will be undertaken at that stage. It won't be undertaken at this early stage where it's just a high-level master plan, but it will occur later on once we start getting into more design work.
Are there particular thresholds that might be like unacceptable in terms of the impacts on Leake Street, given that it's a safe, active street?
Through the chair, when that design and when that analysis is undertaken, it will also be looked at in terms of road safety. So normally with these types of projects, we try to do a road safety audit and just have a look and make sure that the design is suitable and safe. Leake Street, in terms of capacity, is probably suitable in terms of the number of vehicles that will come down there. Got to keep in mind that all this area currently is actually accessed through one street, and that's Milne Street. This is actually looking at providing a connection and providing an alternative. So it's distributing the traffic across two streets rather than just coming through one. So, but it will be considered as part of the design process in terms of the suitability of Leake Street for that type of traffic.
That's it. Yes, Councillor Johnson, do you have any questions?
Yeah, thank you. Noticing on the picture that we've got in front of us on the screen, so I'm just looking through all my documents to see if I can get a close up. On the dog beach, there's a grey lined area. Dog beach, it says Community River Beach. There's some grey lines. Yeah, the cursor's getting close to it, a little bit more to the left. There, what's that?
Yes.
Through the chair, I understand that's a feature there, some type of platform that the community can use. The exact details I don't know at this point in time, but I can take that on notice and find out what exactly it entails.
Thank you. And if I can just have an answer, please, to a question that I get asked a lot, is does the current plan include fencing around the dog park?
Yes.
Through the chair, clarification in terms of dog park, what area are you talking
sorry, might be called Riverside Gardens West or on that
Are you talking about the
map. Yeah, around about there. Yeah, roughly there.
Through the chair, I don't believe that there's fencing proposed around there, but I'll confirm that and provide that information before the council meeting.
Thank you.
Councillor Palmer, any questions?
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
I can sense it.
yeah, for years I've wanted to see some walking areas for cyclists, you know, wheels and so forth, going through that park where we have number 18, I think, or 30, can't see it very well. Yeah, that's the one. So I'm hoping that somewhere in the plan there's going to be some pathway for people to enjoy walking, especially as it's very
So your question is,
soggy.
are there any pathways proposed in that section of the plan? And I think there are. Director?
Yeah, through the chair, I mean, on the plan it actually shows some indicative locations for pathways. So those grey lines going around close to the perimeter of the park. The exact locations, as mentioned earlier, once we go into detailed design for these areas, the exact locations will be worked out, but it is showing that there will be pathways around that area.
Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Leder.
Last one. Residents have discussed with me wanting disability access for water recreation on AP Hines Reserve near the jetty. Did that come up in the consultation?
Through the chair, it's actually mentioned in the report that there is going to be a provision for accessibility into that part of the beach there. It's been discussed for quite a few years now. That has been incorporated and considered as part of this plan. Again, once we go into detailed design, the actual details of what that's going to look like will be developed, but it is actually mentioned that that provision will be provided in future.
Can I just ask a follow-up question on this one? Because I read a reference about this issue, and we met with the club several years ago. I didn't read it as an accessibility kind of platform. So can we just clarify that? It said something, an access to go down with boats, but it wasn't clear to me that it is the one that the clubs ask for people with wheelchairs, etc. Can we just clarify that, that point, that this says what the clubs ask us?
Yep, I mean, as part of the design, it was considered that there will be wheelchair access in the area. That includes the actual foreshore and the sandy beaches down there. So it's not just for wheelchair access, it's actually to have accessibility to water sports for the people. So, yeah, so that's included as part of the considerations.
Yep. Councillor Johnson, did you want to ask a question? I thought so. No. Any questions, councillors? I have two other questions about the car park, going back to this one. So just to clarify, the whole, is from what we see here on the screen, the whole lot is proposed to be a car park?
The actual, the car park, as shown, is, pretty much takes up most of that block. But probably what's important to note is that if you read the actual document, number 15 states that it's additional parking option, so it's not definitely a car park in there at this point in time. It's saying it's an option that if parking's needed in that area, that could be an option to build it on that block of land.
Thank you. Can you also clarify, do we currently have a car park there?
We have got a car park that sits down the bottom of that, partially on that block of land at the moment, yeah.
So we do already have a car park on that lot?
Yeah, down the bottom, yes.
So the question is whether we're expanding it. This is what is proposed here, just so we clarify the issue.
It actually talks about building a brand new one, so it's not necessarily expanding the existing. The way it's shown on the plan is that it's just being positioned in a slightly different area, which allows the road and the other improvements to be undertaken in that area.
Thank you. Can we also clarify the need for the car park? Because it was also raised by deputies, an indication the car park is to be used by the clubs, and I think it's a bit further away. What's the rationale behind the expansion of the car park, or the need for a new car park? Is this because of the new playground? We know that there will be growth in residents in the city, so we need more. We have already pressures in parking bays.
Yeah, that's correct. You know, I mean, at times it is busy down there. Not always, but at times, you know, there's need for more parking down there, and it is understood that if you develop the park further, it's going to attract more people down there and we'll need more parking down there. In terms of the location of the car park, this was developed through the consultant, through understanding how the whole area is going to work and where the need will arise for more parking. And this was basically also through the consultation process that did occur towards the end of that developing of that plan.
Just on that one, do we know if we received community feedback about the need for more parking bays?
I'll have to take that on notice.
Thank you. I'll just check, councillors, any other questions? Thank you. So we are moving to item 10.5.1.7, planning policy review, tree retention and provision of trees. Any questions, councillors? Councillor Johnson.
Yeah, thanks. So questions probably in relation to the broader policy framework around the item of tree retention on private property. There's been a few things that happened since this came to the policy committee, and one is the approval for the removal of the pine tree on Drake Street. I'm just wondering how this proposed policy would impact that decision, if it would, is my first question.
Okay, so well, let's address this one. Yes, we'll go to the director.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. That particular tree on Drake Street, from recollection, actually sits in our heritage list as a Category 3 tree. However, the site sits within Development WA. The city recommended that the tree be retained as part of the development application. However, Development WA considered the removal of the tree as part of that DA process and determined that the tree be removed to facilitate the development. That is a process that would be undertaken in any policy setting. So, for example, if you had a policy that was in place to assess all trees, that decision would be held with Development WA in terms of whether that tree be removed or not. In terms of the policy that is before council for consideration, the tree, I believe that Norfolk pine tree of question was over 8 metres, so that would qualify as a regulated tree, and it would fall within the realms of the policy because it related to new development of group dwellings. So therefore, if it was an application to the city, we would apply our policy provisions and determine whether that tree was appropriate or not for removal.
Thank you. Can I also follow up to that then? So if we have the policy that's on the table for under consideration, I understand that we're not the decision maker in that on that property, but would that give any greater or different weight to the position to protect that tree?
Thank you, through the chair. Maybe we should put Drake Street to one side because that was under the heritage list, so it had also different considerations. But if we had a tree such as a Norfolk pine that was over 8 metres tall in an area that we had control over for planning, then yes, the policy would apply and the removal of that tree would have to be considered in accordance with the policy if the application was for new grouped or multiple dwellings.
Thank you for explaining. So the other question I had was about a news article about a tree. I think it was in the city of Cambridge that SAT had some comments on about the retention under their particular policy framework, and I'm just wondering how those comments or decisions sort of what bearing that has on the tree policy that we've got in front of us.
I will just highlight, councillor, that I did ask the city to provide an addendum on this one, so I'm not sure if you had a chance to read it. I will go to the director to summarize it, but it is, we have a copy.
Oh, was that the one sent today?
Today or yesterday or something in the last few days, but one of the addendums items is all about that case and how it impacts our policy. But just for the sake of it, I will go to the director if you can summarize this important issue. Thank you.
Thank you. I will try and summarise the 67-page decision briefly. So essentially, the Town of Cambridge approved a development application. When the proponent went to remove a tree, they applied a written direction on the property to suggest that the tree removal was not approved. That went through to the tribunal and went to a full hearing. What I must first preface is that the hearing was based on a specific tree in that location. In the city or in the Town of Cambridge, in that location, they have objectives in the area around its green suburb, etc. However, the tree was a chewit tree and it was a significant tree, and the significance of that tree was determined by the tribunal with respect to its size, its location, its amenity, etc. By way of them considering that the tree was significant in this instance, they therefore constitute it as being development in this instance. However, what the tribunal did not do, it did not define specifically what a significant tree is. So that is still, there is still ambiguity around that part of it. And for that reason, from a city administration point of view, we can't determine that in the absence of a policy, which is why this policy would assist with the officers determining that a regulated tree is a tree that is of significance and therefore would require a development application when it forms part of a grouped or multiple dwelling application. And in the absence of a state position on the matter, that's probably the best approach when dealing with the SAT decision. That was my brief summary.
Thank you, and thanks for highlighting that. I believe that was sent today. Thank you.
Councillor Leder.
Is the case with the town of Cambridge, does that relate to a grouped or multiple dwelling development?
Thank you. Through the chair, no, that matter related to a single house. The ultimate decision of the tribunal was that they found that the removal of the tree was already granted by virtue of the development application. However, they acknowledged that the tree in this instance, because of its significance in its locality, it itself warranted a development application. Since then, however, the city does have a tree policy and now determines what a regulated tree is, so therefore they can readily apply that. But it was relating to a single house.
Does that create a gap for us if we were to adopt a policy that only relates to developments for grouped or multiple dwellings?
Through the chair, no, because our policy is clear in terms of how we will apply the consideration of trees of significance, those being determined as regulated. There's a clear demarcation in terms of where a DA is required and where a DA is not required. So there wouldn't be a loophole as such in that respect.
Does that mean that currently SAT might determine that they couldn't remove a tree on in the case of an application for removal for a single dwelling, but once we have our policy, it would be possible to remove that tree?
Again, through the chair, the decision in this instance related to a specific tree in a specific location, because the tribunal didn't say, X, Y, and Z warrants being a significant tree and therefore that's the application of it, it's difficult to determine what a significant tree is in our setting, in a particular street, in a particular suburb. And that's why a policy is the right approach in this instance. As you know, this policy has gone through a number of iterations and has evolved due to community consultation a number of times, and this is where we've ended up in terms of its demarcation for grouped and multiple dwellings, new developments. And I think it's a good starting point for the city, and it certainly allows us to define what we consider as being a regulated or significant tree in the context of the SAT decision.
Okay. So if there was a tree of the same significance as that chewit tree under those same circumstances, after we adopt this policy, would that lead to a different outcome for that tree in the city of Bayswater?
So as it currently stands, the city does not require development applications for tree removals. So despite what the SAT decision says, because the SAT decision there is ambiguity over that. So therefore, what currently occurs is what will occur with the policy in relation to single houses. So the fact that we don't take DAs now for single houses will still be the case under the policy. I accept that there's a SAT decision. However, that SAT decision could also potentially imply that the planting of trees equally may require a DA. not just because, you look at the inverse of things and through a decision. So there's so many unknowns as part of it that in the absence of a position on the matter from potentially a state level, it's difficult to say what that would be. However, what I would note is that this policy has to go through to the department and the WAPC for approval, and through that process we may seek further clarification on that.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the explanation. That was great.
I want to ask a follow-up question, if I can, before I go to you, Councillor Johnson. If Council does not support adopting the policy in front of us, would the city continue not requiring development applications for removal of trees above 8 meters? Like the current situation will continue even if we do not have the policy, which
Thank you, Chair. It's a very interesting question. So as it currently stands, we do not take development applications for the removal of trees. Our view, we haven't looked at whether that would change, and it's unlikely to change until there is indication that that is the approach that we take. The reason being, and just to preface, is the ambiguity around what is a significant tree and how that is applied. So it would be difficult for us to mandate someone to give us a development application in the absence of a policy that says this is what we consider to be a significant tree.
Thank you. I have a follow-up question. If Council decides to adopt the policy and wishes to amend it in 6 months' time, a year time, following if there is some more advice from the department, a more consistent policy, can the policy be amended? And will that need to go to WPC again?
Thank you, through the Chair. Your policy can be amended at any point that Council wishes to make that decision to do so. And would it require to go back to the department? That depends on if there is advice from the department at some point. So if you're aligned with the advice of the department, then no. But if it is still conflicts with the ARCOs, then yes.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. Mine's just a really procedural one at this point. I noticed that the supplementary information sent out today, there's kind of some recommendations for some change modifications. And just clarify, so are they the ones in red in that document? And if so, I don't understand the process. Is that amending the committee's recommendation, or is this a new officer's recommendation?
I will go to you, Director, yes?
Yep. I don't mind it. I believe we can't modify the committee's recommendations, so these are suggested modifications for council to consider for next week, and it is those changes that are highlighted in red. That is to that's in light of the SAT decision to input some additional wording, and also just to provide some additional clarity around what the purpose of the policy is in light of how we have consulted on the policy as well.
And I can supplement, Councillor, that I asked the city to prepare for shadowed motion for me to implement those changes that I recommend. Any other questions, councillors, on this item? No, thank you. So now we will move to all the other items, and I will check. Yes?
I need to make an additional disclosure of interest that I neglected at the start of the meeting before we proceed, please. So I have to make a declaration of interest on 10.3.2, the King William Street and Guildford Road intersection upgrade. I have a proximity interest and I'd need to leave the room when that is discussed.
Okay, thank you. I will check, councillors, if you would like to pull any items for questions. Do you have any questions, Councillor Johnson? Or are you still looking?
Will, but just need a minute.
Okay, so how about we'll go to Councillor Leder first.
I would like to ask questions on 10.3.6, the Pathway Master Plan.
10.3.6, yes, please.
I just want to understand if we want to amend the weightings given to particular buildings or zones. I can't remember the term that's used, but where we've got schools and aged care facilities, etc. Is the city able to amend those weightings for the future without affecting the current year's selections?
Yes, I will go to you, Director.
Through the chair, In November, at the Policy Review and Development Committee, the footpath policy will be presented there to be updated. This scoring system will be included as part of that process, so it can be changed. The purpose of this particular report to Council is to select those pathways, and it's using the current iteration of the scoring system to come up with that list. That scoring system can be amended, and like I said, it can be amended as part of that policy review when that occurs in November.
And a further question on that item, once these are selected for the current pathway program, will there be consultation with residents on those streets before it progresses?
Through the Chair, that's correct. We will contact the residents that are impacted by these projects. That's just normal process. We will contact them and we'll get their feedback. We have selected projects that we believe won't have too many obstacles in the way in terms of getting those projects delivered during this current financial year, but we will contact the residents and discuss the project with them. We'll tell them that it's occurring, they can ask questions, we can meet with them and go through the reasons why the project has been selected.
Is it possible at that stage that the city may not proceed with all of those projects?
Through the Chair, if there's objections and we're running into difficulties with the community in terms of some of these projects, we'll bring those projects back to Council.
Any other questions on this item, the Pathway Master Plan? No. So, Councillor Johnston, any items?
Sorry, my apologies, I left that on. I think I just had a brief question on 10.3.3, which is the tender for the Morley Drive and Bath Road landscape and irrigation. I think it was about the budget for the project. Is that fully paid for by Main Roads?
Go to you, Director.
Through the Chair, Main Roads are contributing a significant portion of the project. It is written in the actual report that's $523,000 that Main Roads were contributing towards it, plus there's another $91,000 that was provided to the city through the acquisition of land that was undertaken through the state.
My apologies for missing that, thank you.
Any other questions on this specific item?
Thank you.
Yes.
Just wanted to make sure that $91,000 that we acquired from the disposal of those two lots of land, will that $91,000 there specifically be used for creating better amenity for those residents at the corner of Fitzgerald and Bath and Woking as per a previous council resolution?
Through the Chair, that's correct. Yeah, that was noted. Officers are aware of that and yeah, it will be used for those purposes.
Thank you. Any other questions on this item? No. So any other items, councillors? I have one item to pull 10.5.3.7 quarterly performance report. I have one question about in the hard copy, page 718, which is program number 13, further greening of Guildford Road, verge tree planting. It describes the current planting along Guildford Road that is essentially do some planting in very easy locations. My question is, will the city or is the city planning next year to focus on the planting on the verges and the footpaths as per the budget allocated? Because it says that in 2025, the city looked for easy locations, not requiring additional approvals from Main Roads. My question is whether next year the city will, because currently it's off track. It says off track, so my question is going to be on track next year?
So what I'm understanding is that are we going to do further planting along Guildford Road to get
on the verges and footpaths?
On the verges?
Yes,
Yes,
which is that project.
Yeah, we'll continue to find locations along there. We will need to liaise with Main Roads. Obviously, they're the approving authority. It's their road. For those other locations, we'll need to talk to them to secure those locations.
And that is planned for the next planting season?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any other questions on this item? No. Any other questions on any other items, councillors? Councillor Johnson, anything? No. Thank you very much, councillors. I understand you don't have any questions on the confidential item as well. And in that case, we can close the meeting at 8:45. Thank you very much.